Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Changing Minds podcast, episode number 3. This is all about social media. So, what I want to talk about today is about how social media affects us, and importantly, social media and our mental health. So, a lot of people out there will recognize that there's a lot of fear and concern, understandably so, that social media affects the way in which we feel, the way we feel about ourselves, the way we feel about our lives, the way we feel about our futures, all that sort of jazz. And so what I want to do is talk a little bit about that and also hopefully help you with some strategies to improve your relationship with social media. Because social media, with its Facebook and its Twitter and its LinkedIn and its Instagram and its Pinterest and its Snapchat, and now with its TikTok, which is scary, with all of these different things, we have a lot of opportunities to be able to go online and interact with others. And when we do, there's some great things that can come from that. But also, social media really knows how to be able to make us addicted to it. So there's a great book by a guy called Nir Eyal called Indistractable. And in it, one of the things Nir talks about is he talks about his original book a few years ago was called, I think it was called Hooked. And in it, Nir talked about the fact that this is what some of the most successful product designers out there do to make their products addictive, or this is what a lot of the companies out there do to be able to make the working with them or engaging with them addictive. But Indistractable is sort of the other side. It's so what do you need to do to be able to be aware of when you're being hooked or when you're being hacked by an organization or a company or whoever it is, whatever campaign or project is trying to do that to you. So what's really important about not just that book, but in general, is to be aware that social media is affecting us largely because of the way in which it's designed. So in other words, if you look at some of the basic principles of even behavioral psychology, of classical conditioning or operant conditioning, or if you read a great book by a lady called Karen Pryor called Don't Shoot the Dog, in it there's really clear steps of exactly not just how to train animals, but in many ways how we can be trained as human beings as well. And so when we talk about social media, like, you know what it's like. You go on to, let's say, Instagram, and you're looking through the Instagram feed and you're like, oh, they're on holiday, great for them. But you know that you haven't been on a holiday in ages. And you're like pissed off. And then all of a sudden, that's like negatively impacted you. And there's so much information you're getting from it, you're not even aware of what's triggered you into the negative state. And so the problem with that is that your brain goes on this journey whereby you start to feel bad about the fact that you're not doing as successfully as you'd like. And that's obviously not good. So one thing to be aware of is that there's so many triggers that are coming at you, or potential triggers that are coming at you. And that can really shock you into a negative way of thinking. It can really put you in a state without you even noticing that it's put you in a state. And then you don't really have the recourse at that moment to be able to get yourself out of the state because you don't know what caused it in the first place. There was so many different things that you were exposing yourself to. So what's really vital is that we start to acknowledge the fact that there are certain, I'm not saying that social media causes depression or anxiety, but I'm saying that it is the potential to exacerbate it, just like it's the potential to make us way more entertained than we've ever been before. We also have the potential to be way more anxious than we ever have been before, or more depressed than we ever have been before. So to me, it's an amplifier. And so what's really critical is that we become aware of when it's amplifying the wrong kinds of emotions, the wrong kind of states. Another thing that social media can do to us is, and again, based upon this whole, the book Nir wrote, was it distracts us, it grabs our attention, it keeps hooking us. So what happens is you go on social media and all of a sudden your brain is like, they do the endless scroll. I was listening to whoever created the endless scroll idea and stuff, and they were saying like that's one of the most powerful tools to keep our attention, because when it keeps scrolling down to the next one, I mean, even in Netflix, you know what I mean? Like you're finished an episode. And I mean, back in the day, let's say I was watching 24, and like with 24, I just couldn't stop. I was like, the CDs or the DVDs couldn't go into the DVD machine quick enough. I was like completely and totally like coke addicted to it. Like off my head, I needed to see episodes. I would binge watch the shit out of 24. It was unbelievable. But one of the interesting pieces, when you look at something like, binge watching television, is that now on Netflix, you don't need to do anything. There's a little timer, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. It's like kind of a Mel Robbins, but for like creating addiction, because it's like 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and then the next episode starts. So literally, I don't even, like before, I at least had to get up and put a DVD in. Then it went to, let's say, online or iTunes or whatever. Then I had to buy the episode, download the episode, and watch it. Now it's streaming, and with Netflix, I don't even have to move a muscle. I don't even have to like move my hand. I could stay completely still, and it would still keep giving me more of the same. So again, that makes our lives a lot easier, but at the same time, it makes it way easier for us to be addicted to things as well, and therefore distracted as well. Because look, almost any addiction out there is a form of distracting you. And again, the suggestion is you want to make traction towards achieving the kinds of things you want. So anything that gets in that way is a distraction. And these distractions are addictive. And that's what they do. They hook our attention. And so because of that, we need to look at social media to a degree as something that we need to, change our relationship with. And some people go as far as, right, well, I'm going on a social media diet. And sometimes that's really useful. But just like in eating food or anything that we consume, we can go on a diet, but that doesn't necessarily fix the problem, because that means that we're like avoiding something. And when we avoid something too much, the danger is we give too much power to it. So even when I worked as a therapist, one of the things I didn't want the client to do is I didn't want them to just always avoid the problem, because if they're avoiding it, they're giving it this power. And the scary part is then if it has all this power, then if they fail to avoid it once, then they fall back off the wagon or they fall into the trap. So instead, you want to be able to change your relationship to social media itself, so that you're no longer as addicted to it in that way. And we'll talk a few ideas around that. But then the other part of social media, which can get us down, is the comparison thing. Like we compare ourselves to other people, and it happens unconsciously, but you see other people doing well, and it can be very easy for you to fall into the trap of feeling worse about yourself because they're doing so well, right? So you see them with their new partner, and you feel that way. Like, I don't know, a while back, I saw my ex got engaged. And if I'm being honest, I was like, ouch. Now then I was happy for her. Do you know what I mean? I was like, great, I'm happy for her. And, I believe it's worked out for the best. At the same time, there's that moment where you're like, ouch. And so a lot of times people are like that when other people succeed. So someone does well, like even in the acting business. A friend of mine sort of said to me, that when they saw me being successful or won one of the awards that I won, immediately they were like, they felt bad initially, but then they felt good for me, but they felt bad about themselves because they hadn't produced work in a while. And again, that's totally understandable, because again, that's a habit. Now, there's a difference between that and begrudgery, which is what, it's like rooting for other people to lose, which is, really messed up. And that's can sometimes be a cultural thing. But the natural reaction to other people winning, it's okay if that initially can spark a reaction from you, because it's in our nature to habitually compare ourselves to other people. And so we want to be able to get past that as well, because I want to make sure that you take any of the triggers in social media and make it so that you've taken them off to the point that they don't trigger the same negative emotions that you don't want them to, basically. And that's what we're trying to go for, what we're trying to work on, so that in the future, when you do use social media, it doesn't affect you the same way. So it's less about ignoring social media or saying social media is fine. It's more about understanding the perils or the dangers with social media, so you can, feel good about yourself regardless. So what are the kinds of things that might help you with this? Well, first of all, you need to acknowledge how you're doing. So which social media outlets are you using? How often are you using them? You need to sort of do a bit of an inventory there. There's great apps on your phone which will let you know how much you check, at least from your phone, and start to analyze, well, how much time are you spending on social media? And whenever you're going through it, one of the things is that certain times you notice yourself immediately reaching for your phone to go on social media. When are those times? So what is triggering you to use social media in those moments? What are the moments where you find yourself reaching for the phone, and start to become aware of those? But also the same thing is when you feel bad after going through social media, you have to reverse engineer and figure out what's triggered you to feel bad. So was it the social media channel itself? Was it a number of things that stacked on? Was it one post or one photograph or one video that made you go, oh shit, oh, bad, and you immediately felt bad? Was it that something triggered you, the fact that you hadn't heard from that person in a while? Or, even, I experienced where someone who you're friends with has deleted you on a social media. And look, this is a small thing because there's a million reasons why they could have done it, but it could potentially hurt a lot, and you can be gutted by it. And again, finding that out, it's that emotion, it's that feeling. And so that's an example of a trigger, something that immediately can affect you, something that immediately that can get you. So once you're aware of what triggers you to go on social media, and then what triggers you to feel bad when you're in social media, then the key is to be able to figure out different ways of minimizing that. And so one way to do this is to change the environment of social media. So in other words, this could be everything from what you start to force yourself to. So the algorithm in social media tends to give you more of what you like. So when you click like on something, that automatically is more likely to show you those kind of things. So if you want to clean up your social media, one way is to figure out, well, who are you following? But another thing is, like on Instagram, for example, is to make sure that you are liking or following or spending more time even looking at, because the algorithm figures that out, I think, as well, the kinds of things that make you feel good. And if something makes you feel bad, try to skip over it pretty quickly and train the machine instead of the machine training you. And so this is about taking back control, recognizing, realizing that, let's say we look at attention. We talk about pay attention, just like we say pay money. So if you can see attention as a commodity that you're spending, then you can decide to spend it on the kind of channels and the kind of things that you want to or choose to do it. So what kind of people could you follow that when you follow them, maybe they inspire you, maybe they make you laugh, maybe they have a fun lifestyle that you're enjoying, basking in. But who are the kind of people, or what are the kind of products or businesses that when you follow them, they make you feel good? For example, hypothetically speaking, I'll just throw this one out there, me. So, if you follow me on social media, if that makes you feel good, great, keep doing it. And so the key is to start to search for the parts of social media that make you feel bad and the parts of social media that make you feel good. And then also, well, what gets you on social media in the first place? And what can you do that will help you to quash that feeling so you don't distract yourself? Or what can you do to deal with that feeling to make it so that you don't feel this need to immediately go and check out social media? Because when you start to be aware of what's triggering you to get onto social media and what triggers you to feel bad in social media, and then you look through and figure out what can trigger you to feel good or to feel better in social media, the answer to those three questions can be really, really powerful. Now, you also can go on a diet from social media and give yourself some time off. You can delete the apps from your phone so you only check them on your laptop. That can also help. You can even make it so that they're 2 or 3 screens away, so they're not on the home screen, which will again delay it. The more that you can delay or make it more hassle for you to open up and access the social media feed, the better it is. Especially if you have to log into it again. That's a pain in the arse to be able to have to log in. Anything you can do to make it more difficult to access, the better it is. And then the kinds of apps that make you feel good, the kinds of things that make you feel good, make them easy for you to access, make them easy for you to be able to do. Another thing that might be useful is to begin to make it so that you're structuring your day to the point where you give yourself certain time slots where you can use social media. So you like social media binge from 4 to 4:20 today. And by doing it that way, at least you've given yourself that, so you're able to say at 1 o'clock, no, I've got my time at 4. I'm going to go and check it out at 4. In other words, don't allow it to hijack your system. If that's what you want to do, don't allow it to hijack your brain for that. Because a lot of times when you do it that way, when you structure it in that way, you're much more likely to keep to the time codes, as opposed to when you're just like, oh, I'll just check it now just for a minute. Because you know what happens when you say just for a minute? It's never just for a minute. It's just at least just for 5 minutes, and not just for 10 minutes, if it's just 20 minutes, just for like 2 hours, whatever it is. So that's another particularly useful technique that can help. Now, when it comes to comparing yourself or comparisons with others, there's a few things here. One is to get into the habit of cheering for others. So when you see other people doing well, don't just go, or go, Instead, you can go, yay, and actively really be enthusiastic about cheering for them. Because I don't know if you noticed, but there's a few people, for example, that I see on social media, and they're really they celebrate a lot when I win. And I really like that. And I'm very positive feelings towards them as a result of that. So you can really improve your social capital by you really celebrating other people's victories, by you really liking them and being delighted. I see some people like giving little snarky comments going, like if I won, like, I don't know, I won Best Actor in a film festival before, and, you know, most people were like, oh, wow, blah, 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 blah. But you might have a person going, you know, oh, what festival was it? It's not the Oscars. You know, and you're just like going, what do you get out of that? I mean, it might make me feel bad, but it definitely makes you feel bad. Like, so, and again, I'm not talking about even trolls. I'm talking about like just people that are like, you know, they allow their negative feelings to come out of comparison. So instead, what you want to do is you want to celebrate and cheer for other people and be delighted for other people and let them know. And when you're someone's cheerleader, they're going to be like elated. They're definitely going to have a lot more positive feelings to you. So you turn it into something positive for yourself as well. And then the other thing is to dig deeper beneath the snapshot. Now that means whenever you see a picture of someone really happy and doing great, always recognize that's just a snapshot. We don't get the real truth in social media. We just get a snapshot. Like you see me posting all my stuff on, let's say, Instagram on a regular basis. You know, not every single one of those shots of me being happy. Like if I'm posting a joke, it doesn't mean I'm fucking laughing the entire day. I'm not like, oh, I'm so happy. Oh, I've just thought of a joke. Oh, I saw this joke and me a shit. That's not what happens. A lot of times, a lot of shit might be going on down in the background. But you post what you post in that moment because, you know, it's part of your strategy, or it's part of, you know, what you want to impact other people with, or you want to entertain other people, you want to make people feel good, but you choose, you curate to a degree what's going on. And even people say they're 100% authentic. Okay, but you're still 100% authentic in that moment when you decide to turn on the camera. So we're all, like, I'm pretty much who I am. I'm pretty, you know, I'm a very real person, I think most people would agree. But at the same time, that doesn't mean that I always feel a certain way, because you're not my therapist. So I'm not going to, you know, express all my true feelings on social media. Instead, what I'll do is push out content that I hope makes a positive difference to other people. And sometimes that's me telling people I'm struggling, but most of the times it's me entertaining them or teaching them skills or teaching them tools and stuff. And so don't assume because someone is like on holiday or vacation, or they're in love, or they're all loved up with their significant other, don't assume that everything's rosy, because it's not. Just because they look like they're super successful and happy doesn't mean that's always true. So digging deeper beneath the snapshot means recognizing, you know what, good for them. Doesn't mean that they've got a perfect relationship. Doesn't mean that they're off gallivanting 365 days and they've got like loads of money. Doesn't mean they're doing better than you. And even if it's not about that. Instead, it is what it is. Let them enjoy their moment in the sunshine and cheer them for it. And recognize that you've lots of different positive events and experiences that you have that you could equally, you know, put up there if you so choose. So once again, recognize you're never doing worse than other people. You're probably never doing better than other people. You're just doing, and they're doing. And so if you can learn from their success, great. But comparing yourself to other people is like apples comparing themselves to oranges. You know, they taste very different. And oranges are much softer, much juicier. Well, apples are pretty juicy as well, but they're much juicier. And apparently they have more vitamin C. And also, you know, you throw away the skin with it. I'm not going to keep going, but you get the point. You know, apples and oranges, all that sort of jazz. Anyway, I hope that this has been of some benefit to you, some value to you. To me, I just wanted to share with you what I believe are some useful ideas. Again, get yourself a copy of this book, Indistractable by Nir Eyal. It's a good one, you know. He's a decent owl flower. He's a smart cookie, and he's got some good insights in that about how social media, not just social media, but how the technology world affects our attention, and how to reclaim the space and build new relationships with the technology we interact with. Well, I hope on that note that you realize that if you subscribe to my podcast and you listen to it every single Monday and Thursday, and you rate and review it and stuff, or if you follow me on Instagram or YouTube, none of that is considered addictive behavior, and none of that is bad in social media. In fact, I would argue it's probably the smartest thing you can do, and the best thing you can do, and the most amazing thing you can do for your own well-being. And so yeah, I definitely recommend you do that. But for now, thank you very much for listening. I'll have some news coming up very soon about exciting things that are happening in the Owen Fitzpatrick world. But for now, thank you very much for taking the time to watch and or listen to this podcast. And wherever you are, whatever you're doing, I hope you have the most incredible week. Bye for now.